is a QR code on your table for scanning. We also like everyone to remain seated when Minister Ong steps into the hall. You can wave or clap your hands to welcome the minister from your seat. We will turn on the cameras to live stream the program now so that the virtual participants can join us. We are live streaming in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good morning and welcome to the inaugural Hybrid Singapore Health and Biomedical Congress 2022, organized by the National Healthcare Group. We are excited that everyone can finally gather in person to learn at the Singapore Expo. A warm welcome to the on-site audience and also to the online participants who are watching the program virtually, wherever they are. I'm Dr. Chan Junzik, one of the senior residents from the Department of Orthopedic Surgery at Khoo Teck Puat Hospital.
And I'm Dr. Ang Ren Xuan, senior resident with the Department of Geriatric Psychiatry at the Institute of Mental Health. And it is our pleasure to be your MCs for these 2 days of SHBC. Now, first things first, an event like this that focuses on promoting health has to start with some exercise. So to kickstart today's session, we've invited some of our very own physiotherapists from NHG who will be showing us some easy stretching exercises that we can do at our workstations or even when we are working from home. So no excuses for the people who are zooming in. Let us give a warm welcome to our physiotherapists coming up on stage right now. We have Claudia Kwan from Tan Tock Seng Hospital, Divya Menon from Khoo Teck Puat Hospital, and Ng Yu Shun from Woodlands Health. Over to you, Divya and team.
Hello. Good morning. We need more energy than that. Good morning. Okay, so it's a very cold morning, so we're gonna just teach you guys simple stretching exercises and seated workouts that you can actually do throughout the day, okay? So this exercise is gonna help you be energized and awake for the rest of the Congress, all right? So we're gonna start in a seated position first. Can we get everyone to sit in their seats, please? All right, so we just need space between you and your neighbor, so just a little bit space so that you can actually participate, okay? So we're gonna go through the steps without the music, and then subsequently we'll do it with the music. Okay, are we all ready? Ready? Okay, so it's simple, I promise, okay? So we're gonna bring our heels up first, so 8 counts, let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we straighten our legs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then the shoulders, we roll it for 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we rotate the neck. 2, 3, 4. Other way. 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we stand up. All right, stand up. Let's go. Good job. I can see a lot more participating. Everyone's more participative now. Good job. Okay, then we stamp. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we step forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we move to the side. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we punch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we end with a big, deep breath. And then we breathe out. One more time. And then we breathe out. That's it. It's simple, right? So now we're gonna do it with the music. Are we ready? Okay, so it's actually very fun, and let's do it together, okay? So we start back down in a seated position. Okay, so you can go with my counts and you can follow all of us, all right? So don't worry if you can't remember the steps. Ken, are we ready? Okay, let's go. Let's go. 1, 2, heels up. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Straighten the legs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Shoulders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The neck. 1, 2, 3, 4. The other way. 6, 7, 8. Let's stand up. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's step forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Side step. Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Let's groove. 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's go. Punch it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like big deep breath. Let's go. And out. One more time. And out. All right. Good job, everyone. So I hope you guys are feeling more energized and awake and warm, right? Okay. So can we take a Wi-Fi? Ken? Everyone's ready? We even brought a selfie stick, okay? So let's take a Wi-Fi together. Okay. So when in my count, can we get everyone to thumbs up? Okay, huh? All right. Are we ready? We have our really tall Yixun to help us with the selfie stick. Okay. I'm gonna help count down, okay? And then your thumbs up. Can everyone thumbs up, huh? 3, 2, 1. Smile. All right, good job, everyone. All right, we'll see you after lunch, okay, for the next workout. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Yixun, Claudia, and Divya for leading through all the exercises as well as the Wi-Fi today. These series of simple stretching exercises can be done seated or standing, so do remember to do them throughout the session today to keep yourself awake, attentive, and interactive throughout the exciting plenaries lineup for the entire day. Minister Ong has just arrived at the Singapore Expo and we will start shortly. I would like to remind everyone present here to remain seated where we announce for his arrival. And now, let us welcome Singapore's Minister for Health, Mr. Ong Ye Kung, as he joins us in the hall. Good morning, Mr. Ong Ye Kung, Minister for Health, colleagues from National Healthcare Group, distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the inaugural Hybrid Singapore Health and Biomedical Congress 2022. Organized by the National Healthcare Group, we warmly welcome all participants who have joined us here this morning at the Singapore Expo and those who are watching us from the live stream. I'm Dr. Chan Jun Zik, one of the senior residents from Orthopedics Department Surgery from the Khoo Teck Puat Hospital.
And I'm Dr. Ang Ren Xuan, senior resident with the Department of Geriatric Psychiatry at the Institute of Mental Health. And it's our pleasure to be your MCs for these 2 days of SHBC. You know, it feels good to be able to meet in person again after such a long hiatus. The past 3 years has brought many changes in the way we communicate and learn, but it certainly hasn't dampened our enthusiasm to gather across disciplines for the exchange of innovative ideas and fresh perspectives, which is exactly what SHBC is about. We hope SHBC 2022 will be an enriching experience for all of you. We would also like to take this opportunity to thank all our healthcare professionals for the courage and resilience you have shown in the past few years as we dealt with a formidable and stubborn foe in the form of COVID. Your ability to stay true to your calling, to preserve health and save lives, has allowed Singapore to emerge stronger from the pandemic. We are one NHG and one united Singapore. On behalf of NHG's senior management, we thank you for your hard work and sacrifice. Thank you very much.
Today, we gather here at the Singapore Expo for in-person learning. As Professor Marvin Minsky from the MIT once said, you don't understand anything until you learn it more than one way. I completely agree with the statement, and as a resident, different modalities in learning definitely is of the steep learning curve throughout our training. So over these 2 days, we invite everyone to learn and don't be shy to ask questions from an amazing lineup of panelists, distinguished speakers, who bring with them a wealth of knowledge to share with us at the SHBC 2022. Without further ado, we'd like to invite Professor Philip Chew, Group Chief Executive Officer of National Healthcare Group, to give us the welcome address. Prof. Chew, please.
Morning, everyone. Mr. Ong Ye Kung, Minister for Health, Assistant Professor Jerry Gu, Chairman, Organizing Committee, Singapore Health and Biomedical Congress 2022, distinguished guests, speakers, delegates, friends, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning and welcome to our SHBC 2022. This is the 20th year that NSG is organizing this event. I'm very grateful for all your support in helping us to achieve this milestone. Singapore, with its very high vaccination rate, has managed to be in a stable state today. Social restriction has been lifted, except for public transport and visits to hospitals. I would like to thank all of you for your valued contributions in the fight against COVID-19 for close to 3 years now. So thank you very much for keeping Singapore safe. As we start to emerge from this pandemic, we must start to look to the future to ensure that our healthcare system is prepared for the bigger challenges ahead. It's very hard for us to try to fathom what bigger challenge can we face after these last 3 years. But there is another pandemic that's coming. It is far more silent, far more challenging. It is actually the change of our population's choices, behaviors. It is the aging of the Singapore society. And that's why the theme of this year's SHBC 2022 is reinventing healthcare. There's an urgent need for us to redesign and to transform our healthcare system in line with the Ministry of Health, Healthier SG. At NSG, we have identified several major shifts for bringing better health for our population in the face of aging and the rising prevalence of chronic disease. The very first shift is to have better integration of care. NSG is committed to our One Care plan for each of the residents that we are looking after. And this is actually carried out under our River of Life framework. Our healthcare professionals across the whole care continuum will work hand in hand to integrate care around patient at every stage of the River of Life, regardless whether a patient visits a primary care doctor or a specialist. This single care plan will allow us and our care providers to have a single united view of the health and need of our patient and resident. Our NSG Clinical Board has also established new structures and committees in preparing for Healthier SG. These committees are headed by our senior clinical leaders in diabetes and metabolic medicine, musculoskeletal health and exercise medicine, respiratory health, mental health, and cancer. New programs for preventive health and integrated care with clear intended outcomes will be developed to help us add years of healthy life to our population. The next shift is to come up with an accountable care framework. NSG is accountable for the care of about 1.5 million residents in central North Singapore. And we are reorganizing the way we deliver care to establish and trusted relationship with our residents and with our partner providers, including GPs. This effort includes promoting health-seeking behavior based on holistic health plans for which we will develop with our patients. We are also reviewing the use of data to obtain clear understanding of our residents' health and their social profile. We have embarked on population health surveys to gauge how motivations and attitude influence the residents' health behavior. The insight gleaned and analyzed will provide a rich and complete data to allow us to better target intervention for each of our care segments. Part of accountable care would also be putting in place sound financial structures. And we are reshaping our healthcare financing to align to share goals and strategy across NHG. This is done through capitation, incentive, and various forms of value-based payment. Lastly, we must have an academic system in place with good program to nurture the next generation of health professionals. And we are working together with the Lee Kuan Yew School of Medicine to establish an academic health system with the aim of improving care and population health outcome through achieving excellence in clinical care, research, and education. This aspect of building the academic healthcare system is extremely important for us because we realize that in meeting this new challenge, we will be tasked to develop new healthcare system, new treatment protocols, new preventive measures, new methods to activate, to engage our population. And as we do all of this, we have to be able to do research, to substantiate the gains and the learning we have, and to rapidly then translate them into clinical practice, to scale up all of this across our entire zone, and then subsequently to complete the circle by educating the current workers as well as future healthcare workers into these new clinical services. So it's important for us to be able to start to strongly invest and to build up a steady pool of clinician scientists, investigators, innovators, and clinical educators to help us see through this program. A key focus of this year's SHBC is Healthier SG, its challenges and enablers. The speakers and panelists we have invited from the government, the private, and the public healthcare sectors will provide all of us here with a holistic perspective and I hope generate lively debates and discussion on the various strategies and how do we actualize it. There are many other sessions which I hope you will also find beneficial, and that includes transforming the healthcare workforce, the impact of technology to bridge gaps in our IT systems, and discuss the potential for digital innovation for future clinical care and partnership for a sustainable healthcare, with emphasis on restructuring healthcare finance to build and develop integrated care system to support our population health. All of the sessions at this year's hybrid SHBC will be recorded, and the videos will be available online until January next year. I do know that all our institutions are very busy, and not everyone can be here to attend and to share in our meetings. But I hope that everyone will be able to set aside some time to watch this session after the Congress to fully maximize your learning opportunity. I would like to thank our partners and LKC Medicine for their support in helping us to organize this hybrid edition of SHBC. I would also like to thank the organizing committee for curating this excellent lineup of speakers and planning for an enriching program. The future is here, and let us work closely together to stay ahead of our healthcare challenges and create a healthier Singapore. I wish all of you a fruitful experience at this year's conference, and thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Prof. Chu, for the welcome address. We will now screen a special video produced by the NHG Group Corporate Communications Department titled Healthier You, Healthier SG, Perspectives on How to Effect Better Health for Our Population. Please sit back and enjoy the video.
The National Healthcare Group's approach to managing population health is to counter the 4 waves driving healthcare utilization: frailty, chronic disease, poor lifestyle habits, and maternal and child health. NHG's aim is to shift away from a predominantly reactive, disease and institution-centric model towards a preventive care model by taking a proactive life course approach for all. This is operationalized through NHG's River of Life framework, comprising 5 segments of care: living well, living with illness, crisis and complex care, living with frailty, and leaving well. The unveiling of the Healthier SG initiative by the Ministry of Health in March 2022 marks a major milestone in NHG's journey towards preventive health and in building a sustainable healthcare ecosystem for the nation. Aligned to this vision and principle of preventive care, NHG has begun its underlining strategy of social and health integration by shoring up support and partnerships in the community so as to effectively drive better health for our population.
The pandemic has allowed us to put focus on mental health, which we never possibly would have, because it brought mental health into the fore. The isolation, the lack of social interaction actually allowed people to recognize that mental health is important. In trying to have holistic health, you will need mental health.
Health is not just about achieving good health outcomes, it's beyond that. It is achieving good networks in terms of support socially, it's having something to do purposefully, it's staying active and connected to the community. We have the Relate program, and that really helps the patient to be early identified, to put through the appropriate resources. NHGP's Embrace program, right, is a integrated comprehensive maternal and child health service, and it focuses really on the maternal and child diet. Of particular emphasis really is the Embrace Plus, and Embrace Plus is a component of Embrace, and that the focus of that is really to identify the at-risk children and their families, and this is the vulnerable group, right? And often besides health needs, they have social and financial needs, and that has to be identified early. Right? Going by the importance of the first 1,000 days of a child's life, I think really upstream preventive interventions and identification of these problems are very key. We know that this will influence the future metabolic health, so it's really key to really take care of this group of patients, in particular in the first 1,000 days.
The first 1,000 days also includes the 9 months that a fetus is growing in the mother's womb. How that fetus interacts with the mother, not just physically, and obviously it gets the nutrition from the mother's body, it also interacts with the mother in terms of the relationship, that the mother is keeping the womb safe for the baby, and the mother's own emotional state. So it's quite important that the parents have a good relationship with one another during this very critical period. 3 years is not a long time, but it's not a short time, and much can happen in these 3 years. If you do it well, there are positive developmental outcomes. If you do it badly, there are adverse childhood experiences.
In Central Health, because we recognize the importance of some of these community programs, we have actually developed programs like what we call SteadyLa, which really are exercise programs to tackle frailty, and another program called Make It Siu Tai, which of course is a program that really tackles your nutrition and your diet. And this is conducted by health coaches in order to support people to live a more healthy lifestyle. In fact, what we're doing now is we're trying to spread this program and working with HPB to make it nationwide because we have found that it is very effective.
Yishun Health's Wellness Kampong and Share a Pot initiatives target the delay and reversal of frailty and maintenance of fitness in the community. Residents meet regularly, usually weekly, for this dose of nutrition and physical activity. Such gatherings connect people, stimulates conversation, and build relationships. which also help to address social isolation and loneliness.
So I think if we focus on chronic disease and we look at a segment of patients with poorly controlled chronic diseases, right? The focus is really not on care for this group, it's really on overcoming some of the social challenges, financial challenges. And for the healthcare team, it's really to be able to identify these patients early, link them up to the appropriate resources in the community.
At Ang Mo Kio Specialist Centre, we run what we call a transdisciplinary model of care for diabetes. It is actually to support the patients better. It's almost like a one-stop comprehensive DM care. More importantly, these services are extended to our community partners.
So we will work with the empaneled GP or polyclinic to provide specialist support as well as resourcing for the patients. So back end, if the patient does need certain tests or diagnostics, we are there to provide. Or even disease management or counseling support, we have the whole team to support. I think when the patient lands up in acute care for their condition, we are also there to co-manage the patient with them. And once we settle the acute problem, we will actually share the care or send the patient back to the same GP or polyclinic. This physician usually works in a multidisciplinary team with allied health, nursing, pharmacy and others to make sure that the whole care plan is well executed and everyone sings from the same page as well. And at every touch point, they know exactly what the patient needs and why he needs it.
Pharmacists are also good navigators, to help patients navigate the complex healthcare financing space for drugs utilization. And hence, in terms of medication counseling and the right use of medications, we will also partner with our doctors to see which are the medications that are worth de-prescribing. And hence, some of these de-prescribing efforts, right, will actually require skill sets such as behavioral sciences, motivational interviewing, shared decision making skill sets that the pharmacists will need to be trained in order to do some of this care transformation.
So our teams in Central Health, Yishun Health has been engaging the nursing homes, helping to support the residents who chose to pass away in the nursing home. Similarly, we have also rolled out many programs in the home care setting, supporting patients with non-cancer conditions, patients with advanced dementia to help the family cope with the care at home. Palliative care approach is really a multidisciplinary approach, interdisciplinary approach. So we not only have the doctors and nurses, we have allied health staff. That includes therapists, physiotherapists.
AHPs play a big role in living with frailty or even with palliative care, right? Living well. With regards to palliative care, our medical social workers, our clinical psychologists, pharmacists, rehabilitation team, in fact, pretty much everybody is involved in making the patient's care as comfortable and as smooth as possible in order to enable our patients to live with dignity and in a most pain-free manner as much as possible.
So we know today's practice may not suit tomorrow's needs, and for that reason we are always reviewing our practice models, our boundaries of practice and the competencies of our practice. One of the things I would focus on is that we are involved in making first-line decisions. There are many nurse-led decisions where we have to make on the fly, on the go. So some of the decisions including prescribing medications, which we can see some of the APNs are starting to do. We are also titrating medications even if we are not APN based on protocols, which means that our competencies have to improve, have to be enhanced because we have to take more accountability for many of these decisions.
It is often overlooked how challenging it is for a new innovation solution or product to be placed into the health system because of regulatory system process hurdles. So at Centre for Healthcare Innovation, actually, we have actually set up a kind of like a startup competition where we allow the best-in-class innovation solutions to come in, compete, and the winning solutions are actually funded over a 6-month test bid period to be tried and tested in a real-world environment, so that by the end of it, and if the results are promising, the solution can then be adopted into mainstream practice.
When we hear of the evolving Healthier SG push by the government, It is really in line with the things that we've been setting in place as the building blocks, and Healthier SG actually helps to have that policy push and imperative for us to actually carry out being part of the ecosystem even better. And hopefully we do a lot more secondary prevention as opposed to waiting for them to appear at our doorstep. And that's really one of the key tenets also in Healthier SG. A hospital is no longer an island. A hospital is part of a larger community.
NHG's holistic transformation journey stands strongly grounded by our better care principles. NHG is poised to attain better experience for our patients in order to build a healthy population that has accessible and affordable care, supported by happy and engaged staff at NHG. As the regional health system for 1.5 million Singapore residents in central North Singapore, it is vital for NHG to partner and collaborate with stakeholders, community advisors, and social care agencies. Together with our patients, their families and caregivers, we aim to deliver integrated healthcare services and programs that help in adding years of healthy life for those we serve. After all, a healthier you makes for a healthier SG that will drive better health for our population.
All right. I hope you've enjoyed watching the video as much as I do. So aligned to the Healthier SG movement, NHG is shoring up support and partnership in primary care in the community to effect better health for our population and build a sustainable healthcare ecosystem for our nation. And now, we move on to the next item, the keynote address. It gives me the great pleasure to invite on stage Mr. Ong Ye Kung, Minister for Health, to present the keynote address for the SHBC 2022. Mr. Ong, please.
Professor Philip Chu, Group CEO of NHG, Assistant Professor Jerry Gu, Chairman of the Organizing Committee of today's Congress, distinguished speakers and delegates, ladies and gentlemen, very happy to join all of you here for this Congress 2022. And this year marks the SHBC's 20th anniversary, so my heartiest congratulations to the NHG for sustaining interest in this Congress despite the hiatus and for achieving this significant milestone. Today's theme is reinventing healthcare. I will speak according to the theme, but I must confess to you, past 2 days I'm fully occupied by COVID and XBB. I learned something, which is where the name XBB come from. XBB is actually a cross between the BA 2.75 and BA 2.10, and so it's XBB. So it's just an interesting anecdote. I took my bivalent vaccine yesterday together with Minister Gan. This vaccine has been very kind to me. I woke up with absolutely no side effects. Even my arm, I took it on my right this time, hardly any sore. So if you are 50 and above, please take the bivalent vaccine if you are due. Coming back to the much bigger issue that Professor Philip Chu talked about, another pandemic that is silent, long-term, and more challenging, and that is our aging population and the chronic illnesses that comes with it. So this is driven by two key trends. First, rapidly aging population and workforce. You all have heard the statistic. By 2030, 1 in 4 citizens will be aged 65 and above, and today is 1 in 6. So we we are not feeling the full brunt of aging yet. We ain't see nothing yet. And this will lead to just pure aging. The pure effect of aging will lead to a concomitant increase in disease burden as prevalence of chronic illnesses is higher amongst older people. Then layer upon it is the second trend, and it exacerbates the first, which is the rising prevalence of chronic diseases. So there's a reason why when we come up with a name for this national strategy, we chose Healthier SG and not Healthy SG, because actually we are not very healthy. We need to become healthier. Our health is actually deteriorating. So the National Population Health Survey 2020 showed an increase in the prevalence of high blood pressure, high blood cholesterol among Singaporean adults, alongside other worrying uptrends like obesity. The only silver lining is that the prevalence rate for diabetes has stayed stable. And probably due to the many initiatives that we are taking due to the war on diabetes. So it would seem that the disease burden, if we deem it as a dam, a river with a dam, has been released. The dam has been released, and we cannot stop water that is already gushing our way. And we will try everything we can to contain this gush of water, whether it's value-based care initiatives in hospitals, health technology assessment, removing the distortions of health-seeking behavior due to reckless insurance coverage, bundled payments for hospital bills, co-payment for discretionary health care, better clinical practices. We will try them all to contain this gush of water that's already with us. But that's not enough. Reinventing healthcare is about how we go upstream and shut the dam or close down, slow down the flow of water upstream at the dam. And the way to do this that is most impactful and simplest to understand is to focus on preventive care. Clinicians all know that preventive steps in our daily lives can fend off severe illnesses later on in life. And that is the genesis of our long-term, multi-year healthcare transformation plan that we call Healthier SG. And it is a decisive shift in the focus towards preventive care to improve population's health, reduce disease burden for the long term, reduce suffering of people and their loved ones, and put our healthcare system on a more sustainable footing, whether in terms of manpower or financing resources needed to run them. So today I will borrow Professor Philip Chew's often cited analogy. He has two analogies. One is the river of life. But the river of life now, the dam is open, the water is gushing in this river of life. You've got to shut the dam and control the river. But his other less known analogy is the travelator. And I will call it the deadly travelator of life. It is a bad travelator. It moves slowly, and then it accelerates, and then it crashes. For those of us, some of us are already on it. We actually may not know that we are on it because it moves very slowly at first and steadily, but it's heading us towards chronic illnesses, sufferings, and death. And what is scariest is that most people are already on the travelator, yet oblivious to the impending danger and not doing anything about it. Under Healthier SG, we want to save as many people as possible from this deadly travelator. And there are a few things we can do. I've spoken a lot about Healthier SG, so I think a lot of things I'm saying is nothing new. But today what is new is you use the deadly travelator to explain. First, let's prevent people from getting on the deadly travelator in the first place. We do that by warning everyone that there is such a travelator. And I think we may be having some success in doing so through all the publicity surrounding Healthier SG. I'm just very glad that HPB's effort to cut sodium salt has received so much publicity, and people are talking about it. There are videos circulating around it, and people are starting to understand what kind of food contain more salt. So all this is making an impact. And next, we then need to empower residents of all ages to take charge of their own health and lead healthier lifestyles. A good example is the introduction of mandatory nutrition labeling and advertising prohibition for prepackaged sugared beverages. So from the end of this year, as you may know, prepacked beverages with higher sugar and saturated fat, they must be labeled Nutri-Grade A, B, C, D. And so far, we are encouraged by the positive response from manufacturers who have significantly reformulated and reduced sugar levels in their beverages, even ahead of the effective date of implementation. That sheer fact that they know this thing will be implemented led to actions even before that implementation date. And sales of beverages with less than 5% sugar content have gone up from 37% in 2017 to now 60% in 2021. And now we are planning to extend the initiative to outlets selling freshly prepared beverages. Physical exercise, it needs to be habitual. And if you make it a habit, you prevent yourself from stepping on the travelator. And we promote it through various avenues in schools, during national service, at workplaces, in the community. And Singapore, actually, we now have a wonderful network of public parks and park connectors, plus the green corridor for joggers, walkers, cyclists. And you can visibly see more and more people are participating in physical exercises. We also help residents make healthy living more attractive through gamification. So one program that has received strong traction is the National Steps Challenge by the Health Promotion Board. So you download an app, it counts the steps you are taking every day, it grants small awards for those who can achieve their health goals. And our experience is that with gamification, you have a constant companion next to you. Actually, the constant companion is your smartphone. But the smartphone has an additional app that will constantly nudge you to do the right things and to exercise. Don't get on the travelator. So that is prevention of getting on the travelator. The second part is people who are already on it, but they are on the initial segment of the travelator, which is still moving slowly. For them, one such group is the pre-diabetics. We will have to help them get off it while they can. And again, through lifestyle modifications, and then they can return back to good health. And this is the main impetus for us to mobilize our family doctors in the community to participate in preventive care and embarking on the National Enrollment Program for our population under Healthier SG. And we are starting with residents aged 60 and above because many of them are already on the travelator. And then we will extend to those 40 to 59 in the next few years. The physical act of enrollment, when it happened next year in June, in the middle of next year, when it's rolled out, the physical act of enrolling with a family doctor is to commit to build a long-lasting patient-doctor relationship, receiving a health plan with diet adjustment and exercise as your social prescriptions. And I think all these acts, conscious act, will make the penny drop, that there is such a danger and you have to do something about it. And we want the individuals to realize that it is important that you can do something to step off the travelator, and we will support you to take this initiative. The support for individuals will come in a few forms. Most individuals will exercise by themselves or with their families or close friends. Others may appreciate community support. So we are working with a network of health, social, community partners, plus our clusters to organize more physical and social activities in the community. Our healthcare clusters have been building up communities of care in neighborhoods to specially support the seniors. These communities bring together health and social partners, GPs, and healthcare clusters together. I visited one recently which was featured in the video just now, and it's called Wellness Kampong. It is a community space which facilitates residents to form their own interest groups, such as social dance, language lessons, qigong, cooking, so on, so forth. And through these peer-led sessions, they will be able to keep themselves physically and socially active. For a senior, having this social network is a very important prerequisite to stepping off the travelator. And we want to expand the network of such centers and make them ubiquitous throughout the housing estates. Third, there are residents, individuals who are on the travelator. They have passed the slow-moving part. Now, the travelator is now moving faster, and it's too late to get off. And we will help them try our best to walk in the opposite direction and not unwittingly move into the crash zone. At this stage, the priority is to manage their conditions well, to delay or prevent rapid disease progression and complications. Under Healthier SG, we will strengthen care coordination and leverage technology to improve chronic care management so as to achieve this. Our healthcare providers have been working on integrated care models to provide a seamless healthcare journey for residents. And this includes care transition programs like hospitals to home and the community hospital aged care transition programs. So upon discharge, patients with more complex needs are managed by a care team, including a care coordinator, who will make referrals based on their psychosocial and healthcare needs, even though they are at home. And that way, the stepping down of healthcare from hospital to home is not so drastic. Patients can get continual care anchored in the community and in their home, and probably supported by infrastructure such as Kampong Wellness. And this is a more sustainable path in managing the disease and our aging population. We can also leverage technology to help patients monitor their health regularly and for healthcare providers to provide continuity of care. Wearable technologies, the technology is moving very fast. They are improving in accuracy and sophistication when it comes to healthcare diagnostics. In time, we believe they can play a bigger role in managing chronic illnesses. For example, the algorithms could already identify anomalous readings specific to an individual and prompt him to take follow-up actions. I think in time to come, it could potentially measure other things like blood pressure or sugar levels easily, thus complementing chronic care management. Finally, at some point, actually all of us will be on the travelator. And when we reach the end, and that point, we hope that we can step off the travelator comfortably and with dignity at the end of our life journeys. And we want our residents to spend their final days with loved ones in a familiar environment. And this is the preference of most people. And we should do our best in our healthcare system to fulfill their last wishes. Therefore, we aim to lower the proportion of those who spend their final moments in a hospital bed from about 60% today to 50% within the next 5 years. We are working towards this aspiration by increasing the adoption of advanced care planning and making more timely referrals to palliative care. But my sense is this is not so much an issue of hospital protocols, which are important, but more an issue of mindset and culture, and whether each of us, plus our family, accept that actually for many people, their final wish is not to die in a hospital, but at home, or at least in a hospice, somewhere familiar, somewhere where they can be surrounded by loved ones. So, to do so, our medical personnel will need to have early, sensitive, tactful conversations with patients and their loved ones about death. Matters concerning the last wish cannot be treated as a taboo subject. There are ongoing close consultations with experts and stakeholders on this topic. We need to progressively engage our primary care providers, including family doctors, to provide basic end-of-life care. With strong patient-doctor relationships developed under Healthier SG enrollment program, family doctors are also well positioned to discuss the wishes and concerns of residents at the earliest possible stage of disease trajectory. In closing, as we continue to learn to live with COVID-19, we're also reimagining, reinventing our healthcare system and also our care delivery models to prepare ourselves for a much older population. Many countries have experienced this demographic change before Singapore, and we have much to learn from your experiences. So if I were to put it in one simple sentence, what is Healthier SG? What is reinventing healthcare about? I think it means this. We need to go beyond doing things right, doing things well, but also doing the right things. The things that prevent people from stepping on the travelator, the things that help people step off the travelator, the things that help them walk in the opposite direction, and the things that help them step it off with dignity, comfortably, eventually. And these are the right things to do, beyond just doing things right. And MOH can set the directions, can set the policy, make the policy changes, can make resources available to some extent, but we really look towards hospital leadership, cluster leadership, to operationalize them, to make sense on the ground, so that we can create an impact. So let us continue to come together, to share, discuss, exchange ideas, to create a healthier Singapore, a healthier world. I wish all of you an enriching Congress ahead. Thank you very much.
Mr. Ong, thank you for your keynote address. It was an enlightening and eloquent speech. I'm sure all of us after today, we all want to stay away from the travelators. And we can do this as a nation together. I would like to request everyone to remain seated as Mr. Ong takes his leave to the visit exhibits outside the Max Asia Gallery. Thank you.
Thank you for your patience. We have now come to the panel discussion, Towards Healthier SG. Before I invite the moderator up on stage, we would like to ask everyone to take out your mobile device, not to play games, but to scan the QR code that is on your table stand. It leads to the SHBC 2022 Pigeonhole link. For our online participants, you can also send in your questions through the Q&A tab that you see at the top of your screen. We encourage everyone to keep the questions coming in throughout the day, and the panelists will try their best to answer them. Without further ado, we would like to introduce you to our distinguished moderator for this session, Mr. Han Fook Kwang. He is no stranger to us. I'm sure we have all heard of him and read many of his thought-provoking columns in the papers. He is currently the editor-at-large with the Straits Times and a senior fellow at the S. Rajaratnam School of International Studies at Nanyang National Technological University. Joining him for this segment is a team of distinguished panelists. They are Prof. Philip Chu from National Healthcare Group, Ms. Jasmine Lau from Ministry of Health, Ms. Leong Xiao Wen from Amplify Health, and Dr. Tam Tat Yen from Frontier Healthcare Group. Let us welcome Mr. Han and our panelists up on stage. Now, as they are walking up, I would like to invite everyone to quickly key in your questions into Pigeonhole. Keep the questions coming. Okay, now that everyone is comfortably settled in on stage, I will hand over the time to the moderator for the panel discussion. Over to you, Mr. Han.
Well, thanks very much, and very good morning to all of you. I think we should change the title of the panel discussion to Getting Off the Deadly Travelator. You know, we have heard a lot about the Healthier SG plan from Professor Chu, from the minister on stage. And there was a debate in Parliament last week over 2 days. Speaking as a layman, you know, I have to say that the plan does look attractive and promising on paper at least. You know, just to cite one feature of it, you know, if we all have one particular family doctor whom we trust and have confidence in to take care of our health, and he knows our medical history well because he's been treating us all this time, you know, it's a no-brainer, right? That's a good outcome to achieve. So the first thing that strikes my mind is how come it's taken us so long to get here? What's the catch? Having said that, I think we do have a very good healthcare system in Singapore. When my father was diagnosed with terminal cancer, he was 90 years old then, and I was a main person who brought him to see, you know, the doctors in the hospital. I have to say that the care he received was excellent. But even for a 90-year-old man with terminal cancer, and the prognosis obviously wasn't very good, at one stage in his treatment, he had to see 4 doctors, you know. The main oncologist was treating him, and then because he had to go through radiation, a radiation oncologist, and he also had to see an infection specialist, because I suppose they were worried about, you know, infection, and a colorectal doctor, because I think he had some issues with his either kidney or colon. Every one of them, you know, provided, I think, excellent care. They were very good to him, and they also explained his, you know, his condition very logically and rationally to me. I have absolutely no complaints about the care that he received. But you do have to wonder, you know, whether, you know, for an aged person, it takes quite an effort to have to see so many specialists. But I think our system is built around that sort of system, you know, of specialization. In layman's term, if I can describe it, if I can describe this so-called healthcare malady, I would say it's a system that is very doctor-centric and maybe not as patient-centric as it can be. But I may be wrong. And we have 4 experts on stage here to put me right. So maybe Professor Chu, if I can start off with you. You are the, if I may say so, the key person in this plan. And I say this because there's this passage in the white paper to sort of describe the role of the health cluster. Jasmine, perhaps you are the author of this passage. It says, under regional health managers, to bring all these features together, our healthcare clusters will step up as regional health managers to actively coordinate and oversee these partnerships and activities for residents. Each healthcare cluster will care for approximately 1.5 million residents and will work with family doctors and other partners in the region to reach out to as many residents as possible. They will coordinate the efforts of various partners, guide the development of referral pathways, review the needs and health outcomes of residents, and encourage stronger relationships across partners so as to serve residents better. My goodness, Professor Chu, you have a lot on your plate, including, reviewing the needs and health outcome of residents. So, from looking after only the sick people in your area, maybe, 2 to 5%, you now have the responsibility to look after the health outcomes of the entire 1.5 million residents in the area under your charge. So my question to you, Professor Chu, is, are you up to it? What must our hospitals do to make this very substantial transformation in our healthcare system? What is the first thing that you have to do?
Well, to be quite frank, actually, it's a huge challenge. It's a huge challenge, but it was something that we knew had to be done. Singapore healthcare is actually illness care, and we are very good at illness care. But as Minister explained, if we wait for people to reach that stage of illness before we intervene, it will overwhelm our system. So we realized this, and we realized that we actually have to go out to be able to do that. It's not so much the role of the people in the hospitals. The hospital doctors are full of specialists, and their job is to look after people who are acutely unwell, who need that high level of intensive care. What they can do better is how to integrate that care a lot better, how to perhaps shift some of the care out to the community once they don't need the full support of the hospital system. And most importantly, to have that early discussion with a lot of our patients, especially when it's now time to get off the travelator, and how to get it off in a gentle manner, in a manner in which suits our people. And that's key, and that's what we want the people in the hospital to do, to tie up that care, to push some of it into the community, to be able to support that one there. What we need to do on the other end is how to work with people who are not part of our patient, who are not patients of us yet. But they are obviously patients of primary care, of GPs already. And then how do we then coordinate and work with our GP colleagues? How do we start to bring in services that will actually help the GPs to work with their patients, to be able to change your life, because we need to change life. We need to get people to understand that they have choices and how to actually make some of the right choices, but important to make the choices easier to do. Today it's quite tough. How to make it easier to do, to put in the right incentive to do that. If I had to go back just one step, the pandemic has done something. Everyone look at the pandemic, and to me, it's actually, we have gone through a very severe time. But there is a silver lining. It has, number one, built trust in the system, built trust in government. Number two is actually, it has actually highlighted the important role of primary care, the GPs. Without them, a lot of things could not have been done in this pandemic. And actually, that silver lining is what we now need to actually work on to expand, because that trust is important, that role which the GP plays now is important, and we now need to reshape that role a little bit. And I think that's where we need to do. The hospital end, we've been doing it for many years, and we'll continue to do that. But it is actually doing outside the hospitals, working with the other health provider, that's where most of the job will be in.
Thank you, thank you. I'll come back to you on the hospital bit later. Okay, but I'm going to skip you, Jasmine. I'm going to come to you last because you are, policy underpins all of this. So since Professor Chui mentioned GPs, let me go to Dr. Tam. I think Professor Chui is absolutely right? GPs are central to this plan. So my question to you, Dr. Tam, is are our GPs prepared for this transformation? They have to, in a way, transform themselves, right? To refocus their attention. What sort of feedback are you getting from GPs about the plan? And what sort of issues are they surfacing to you? And so what sort of issues do you think are likely to surface in the coming year or so?
Thanks very much for this question. I think it is extremely relevant, and I'll try to share perspectives from a GP. Firstly, I think let us be very clear that ultimately Healthier SG is about caring for the patients in the community with a strong focus on preventive care all the way to chronic disease management as well as end of life. And I just want to say that this type of holistic care is actually very familiar to many GPs. That's what we are trained for. And I'm sure many of the GPs understand the principles behind playing such a role in the community. Now, in my conversations with many GP leaders as well as GPs, they are generally supportive. It's not something that is alien to them. And in fact, I think many of them are already practicing such a role on the ground. There are, of course, concerns, and I thought that the white paper on Healthier SG actually addressed the concerns very well. If you read the white paper, they actually mentioned there are 3 areas that are important enablers. Firstly, manpower development. Secondly, the IT platforms or systems. Thirdly, is the financing. And all 3 must work together to enable the GP sector to perform their role effectively. Firstly, on the area of manpower development, I acknowledge that many GPs today, they are largely very small practices. They are very different from our public polyclinics as well as the specialist outpatient clinics in hospitals. So the model of care, the operating model, needs to be transformed and needs to be tweaked in order to perform their role more effectively under Healthier SG. GPs need to evolve from practicing in a largely solo practice into a concept whereby primary care team members can come into the picture and support them. And then in this regard, I think we need to then discuss and work with the GPs on what are the additional manpower resources that they need. It could be in the form of additional nursing resources, care coordination resources, for example. Very different from what they have traditionally done as a solo practitioner. On the issue of IT platforms, I think if you look at many of the advanced primary care systems in the world, the GP entities in some of these countries, they are able to integrate and interface with other care providers in the ecosystem. And if you want to work towards the goals and vision of Healthier SG, this point must be addressed. And I am afraid that when it comes to the IT picture today, I think there's still work in progress. We are not there yet, but we need to pursue this in a very definitive fashion. Otherwise, it's very difficult to talk about a common ecosystem when people are not plugged in or when people are fragmented. The last point, of course, is financing. I think many of the GPs on the ground anecdotally have kind of explained and described some of the difficulties that they encounter when they try to do shared care collaborations with our public institutions because of the discrepancy in the way healthcare is being financed. And I understand that this is being looked into, and I look forward to this being addressed so that GPs can perform a better role.
Yeah, thank you. Just if I could, a follow-up question on the financing bit. I've read in the white paper and in the media that GPs will be reimbursed, right, for the extra care that they need to undertake in the form of an annual fee. And there have been some discussion about, what the amount ought to be. But is there also any concern about possible abuse of the system? I better be careful here in speaking to a room full of doctors. But as you know, there have been cases in the past, about false Medisave claims and claims made on chest patients and so on. So how do we prevent that from taking place?
I don't know whether I'm the best person to reassure the audience, but I just want to say that at least based on what has been reported and discovered so far, I think the overwhelming majority of GPs have done their job dutifully and claim in a legitimate fashion. And I think we did experience a couple of black sheep who abused the system. I personally don't think that this should be a major issue. I think by and large, doctors are more concerned about providing good care to their patients. They do want to be fairly treated. They do want to be appropriately compensated when they are doing their job. I believe the overwhelming majority of the GPs will do what is needed for their patient. And I personally don't think we should be concerned about abuse at this point in time.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Xiao Wen, if I may turn now to you. I'm going to ask you questions about IT and technology. Minister mentioned a bit about it, and there's quite a bit of it in the white paper as well. So perhaps you can help us understand why is technology and IT so important in this plan? Related to this, we've heard so many times that Singapore is a fast-aging society. Senior citizens are not very adept, right, in the digital world. So I hope that when we talk about digitalization and technology, we're not just talking about, more mobile devices and computers and having to do all these things online. How do we make sure that our senior citizens are comfortable in this new digital age that we are entering?
Thank you. Thanks for the question. So, you asked me about technology, and I would also add in the word data. So I suppose an analogy would be technology is the engines, right, that you need to power up the whole system, and data is the oil that runs through it. So what it means, first of all, I'm going to put an end to your fears, hopefully. It isn't just about more apps and more devices. In fact, we want to move in the other direction to a place where you have preferably not more than one entry point for a consumer or a customer or a patient, and that patient or customer knows exactly where to go and how to access and what to access within the healthcare system. So the role of technology is really to empower the patient, again, but also empower their care teams, whether that's GPs or other clinicians in the system, to do the best that they can. And the data then is the oil, that must be shared. I'm going to say this between GPs, right, to your point, and hospitals and other stakeholders in the system, so that overall the individual knows where to go, what to do, how to manage their own health, and has access to the tools that they need to manage that. And it should be no more or less than that. And then to your second question around, how an aging society is meant to make sense of the need now to access more technology in order to use healthcare or not, for that matter. So, again, I think we shouldn't, succumb to stereotypes. The IMDA in 2020 reported that over 60% of residents in Singapore over 75 have a smartphone. I think the question is, though, should that be the center, of what we mean by someone being more empowered to take care of their health? It should not. There are still people. There will always be a need for paper in some form or another. And the key, again, is to make sure that the right people have access to the right data and are using it in the right way. And whether that's through the support of a HPB or an AIC ambassador or someone in the community, together with the support of that digital tool, then, so that someone over 60 can also understand what's going on in the comfort of their own home. That's always going to be collaboration and the use of multiple channels.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, can I turn to you, Jasmine? You are from the ministry, obviously very involved in crafting the policy and the white paper, maybe pulling all the strings.